Hi guys, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm planning on doing a couple small scale preserving projects. No canning today, so not planning to heat up the kitchen. And I don't have a whole lot that I really need to deal with right now, but we do have a lot of snow peas that need to be dealt with. We've got lots of peas in general, but the shelling peas are going to be a project for another day sometime this week. But snow peas, we've got more than we're gonna be able to eat fresh. So my plan is to just get those into the freezer. I think that's gonna be a great addition to what we freeze and something that we can use throughout the winter in stir fries and whatnot. I also have quite a lot of basil right now, and my plan was to do just a really large batch of pesto for the freezer, but I just realized that I don't have quite enough Parmesan cheese for the batch size that I was originally planning to do. So I'm gonna have to pare that back a little bit, and the rest of it's just gonna have to be dealt with another day. I'm also thinking that I'll do a little bit of fermenting today. So super easy, quick, just a couple things that I can get done on a Sunday afternoon. So I am not anticipating this being a great year in the garden for us. It has been very, very neglected. It's just been a really busy summer, and I have not had the time to dedicate to it like I need to. So what that means is I spent most of the day yesterday trying to salvage some stuff, get it cleaned up. It is a weedy mess. Usually I can get through July with it looking pretty good, but we have not hit August yet and it is already a mess. So what that means is I am trying not to let anything that is doing well go to waste. So for the basil, I am just gonna get this all measured, see how much we have, and I'll adjust the batch size based on the rest of the ingredients that we've got. Now for my pesto, I typically make it with walnuts. They are a lot more affordable than pine nuts. Pine nuts are crazy expensive. So when I'm doing larger batches especially, I'm likely not going to use pine nuts. We also have walnuts here on our property, so it's a great way to utilize those. So I've got the walnuts in my food processor and I'm just adding in the garlic. I am using raw walnuts. You can toast them. That adds a lot of flavor. But you do want to make sure that they cool before you start blending the pesto, and I just don't have the time today, so raw it is. I've got about 2/3 of a cup of walnuts and 6 cloves of garlic in there, and I'm just going to quickly pulse that a little bit to get that garlic chopped before I add in the rest of the ingredients. Of course, some salt, black pepper, and all that basil. And then olive oil. Real parm. I'm just using a microplane and grating that right in there. Today I'm gonna freeze this in 1/4 pint jars. Typically I would do it in 1/2 pint jars, but I still have quite a few of the 1/2 pint jars of garlic skate pesto left from last year. So I'm gonna do this in some smaller jars so I have a couple different size options for pesto. That way, if I only need a smaller amount, nothing goes to waste when I pull it from the freezer. I'll save any old canning lids so that I can use them for freezing, so that's what I'm doing today. And this ended up being 6 1/4 pint jars of pesto. I definitely want to get quite a bit more into the freezer, so I'll have to pick up more parm and then do up a couple more batches of this while we still have lots of basil. I find as soon as we have lots of tomatoes coming in, I end up going through it a lot quicker. For the snow peas, I am planning to freeze those whole, but I'm gonna get these all washed up, cleaned up, and trimmed, and then I'll get to blanching them so we can get them into the freezer. So I've got my pot filled with water and I'm gonna get that brought up to a boil, then transfer in the snow peas, and those are gonna blanch for just a minute. So I left the snow peas in the ice water bath for just a few minutes. Now I'm gonna let those dry completely on a dish towel before transferring them onto a baking sheet, and then I'm gonna let those flash freeze just so that once I put those into Ziploc bags, they don't clump together. One of my very favorite forms of preservation is fermenting. There are a multitude of reasons for that, but we still have sauerkraut from last year's garden in the fridge downstairs, and it is still perfect. It's a great way to get probiotics into your diet, and it's also nice if you have just a small batch of things that you want to get preserved, but not enough to, run the canner. So I like to do this with pickling cucumbers to make fermented pickles, especially if we only have a few pickles coming in, not enough to do a full canner load, or if I have pickling cucumbers that are a little bit too large for what I would typically can, because I find they hold up a little bit better with fermenting. So I'm gonna do just a batch of fermented dill pickles today, but this brine is really versatile. You can use this with green beans, carrots, radishes, most vegetables, honestly, and I often will just keep a jar ready to go in the fridge. The brine that I'll use to ferment pretty much any vegetable is 4 cups water and 2 tablespoons of sea salt. And what I like to do is add to a small pot about 2 cups of water. You can do the full amount, but this way I can cool down the brine a little bit quicker. And to that, I'll add in the sea salt. So again, it's 2 tablespoons. And heat that up just for the salt to dissolve. And then I can add the rest of the water to cool down the brine so I can use it a little bit quicker. So I've got the brine going and I'm just getting my cucumbers sliced. I'm doing these in rounds today. And per quart jar, I like to add in a few cloves of garlic and a couple heads of dill. You can use young dill, you could use dried dill, all of them work. And I just get that added to a jar, and then once the brine is cooled, we'll top it off. As far as tools go, you really do not need much for fermenting. I do have some fermenting weights. They're from Mason Tops. I'll link them in the description box down below. And I do feel like they are worth it, but you can get by with just using a cabbage leaf on top, or I've seen people do rocks that they've cleaned in a Ziploc bag and using that as the weight. Anything like that will work. You just need to make sure that whatever you're fermenting is fully submerged in the brine. So this has cooled a little bit, and I'm just transferring this into my jar with the cool water to cool that down a little bit quicker. I'm gonna leave that for a few minutes and then top off the pickles. So these pickles are going to sit on the counter for a couple days, and you'll see little bubbles moving up and down as the fermentation process starts to happen. And how long it takes is really going to depend on the temperature of your home and also how fermented you want them. So you can always just pull one out, taste it, see if it's to your liking. If it's still a little bit too salty and not sour enough, just let it go a little bit longer. So that's it for me today, just a couple little projects. As I mentioned, the garden is not thriving. It is still there, still alive, but we are not going to have incredible harvest this year, and with that it's going to be a little bit less preserving, but I'm just gonna fit in what I can when I can, and it is going to be what it's gonna be. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.